Hi everybody, this is Matt and Connor from GamingJuiceTV, and today
Hello.
we're going to be playing Watch Dogs. Connor, how's it going?
Pretty good. So right now we've got Watch Dogs just came out on the 27th.
Way to go to the wall.
Yeah. The controls on this are a little touchy, so. But right now this is Watch Dogs on the PC. I'm running it at ultra settings. It recommended that I actually play it on like mix between ultra and high. I'm running it on a my processor is an Intel Haswell i7. It's a 3.6 gigahertz. We're running with 2 gigabytes of GPU dedicated RAM. It's the GTX 760 NVIDIA with about 16 gigabytes of actual RAM. So it looks pretty good. I was running 60 frames per second most of the time. It looks really nice. Could play it at 1080p. You'll notice later on, though, it does kind of, there is a little bit of drop in the frame rate, but
Fluffy Wolf Panda is playing Modern Warfare 2. Shout out. So let me ask you a question on Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
Did you notice when like new information for like when a mission popped up or like when you completed a mission that the frame rates dropped? Because that is a problem with the console versions.
Well, I heard about that. Like I read some articles on NeoGAF about that happening. And honestly, on the PC, I did not notice that. The only frame rate drops I noticed were going in between cities and whatnot because it was basically loading it up.
Okay.
And when there was going
Like
back
sections of
on
the
from
town.
Black Ops or Blackouts, sorry. But I don't honestly remember. You might be able to see that. I think, though, most of the mission markers that came up did not interfere with the gameplay too much.
Well, because it's in on the console version, because I play on the PS4.
Yes.
When it loads up, actually, there is like when like you get a new mission on a phone, or when you complete a mission, it has that white flash, and then it like tells you how much XP you got, and if you got vigilante points or anything like that. There's a little bit of lag there, and I've noticed the further I've gotten into the game, the actual worse it's gotten. Because like at first when I was because I played side missions well before I ever even started hardly the main story. I mean, I did pretty much the first 2 missions, and then spent probably 4 or so hours up punch the wall.
I'm such a dark figure.
I'm brooding.
Gotta create that personality.
You shut up. This guy's like, hey, shut up. You shut up. Make me.
No. But I did notice I had to go and hack everything in my own apartment. Why I can
That
just
is a
log in.
fine question. Why are you hacking and
my
infiltrating your own audio logs?
I don't know. But I did notice the further on I played the game, because at the very beginning I was able to run at 60 frames per second, 1080p, no problem at all. But there was a little drop in frame rate just driving around later on as I kept progressing. Now, I didn't play very long on this. But I think as it continues to open up the world and expand that, it keeps that in the memory, and it does bog it down a lot. And so probably, like you were saying, on the PS4 with that stuff popping up, it did continue to just, and I had no idea what I was doing here.
Oh, so, okay.
I just unlocked everything. I'm like, oh, sweet. I had no idea there was multiple skill trees. I mean, so I'm just like, yeah, what the hell?
I actually had the same problem, because I think at first you don't have access to all the skill trees. When you get your first skill point, it makes you go.
Okay. Because, well, it shows at the top there, the top left and right, there was a driving a combat. But I didn't realize I had so many skill points. I thought it was just telling me, you need to buy these. Because first it said you had to buy this one. I tried to get some other ones.
Yeah.
But then I figured I had to go get these. So I was like, sure, what the heck ever. And
you know what's funny? It makes
everything.
you do bridges first. I've never used bridges. I've
never
never successfully used
I've never done it. And then here I was trying to get the helicopter. I was like, oh, heck. And you were saying you needed to get the helicopter disabled.
To be able to, like, and now, mind you, can unlock that when you finish, I think that's, what's that? What mission? I think it's like mission 3 called Part of Your World or something like that, which makes me go straight to like Little Mermaid. But
there you go.
Little Mermaids and Watch Dogs. It's all kid appropriate, I'm sure.
And this is where I actually found out the A-Team hack boost was something you had to unlock. I'm like, oh, well, snap! I thought that just came with it. So whatever, though.
Yeah, it is an additional thing. I believe, so
but that's not bad.
It's handy. It really comes in handy actually in terms of getting money. And on the PS4 version, there is some. You're like, oh my god.
Oh, come on! I was like, that's not a lot of skill. Oh, there's a lot of stuff to unlock.
When on the PS4 version, the longer I played, now again, I'm not that far into it, all things considered, but it has gotten a little bogged down. Not anything terribly noticeable, just mostly, like I said, during those beginning a mission and ending a mission times, it does get a little bogged down, but nothing too bad.
Okay.
So you're playing with keyboard and mouse. Do you like it with the keyboard and mouse?
It was fine. Now, this particular record right here, I was trying to play around with the sensitivity. I always get really messed up with sensitivity in games. And so I turned up the DPI all the way up to like 3200.
Wow.
In my game, because I brought the sensitivity down to 25, and that just did not work. So, I mean, if I run it at 50 with a lower DPI, like about 600, it works okay, but overall it still feels a little touchy.
So so for those in the audience who don't know DPI, Connor, how give me on a scale of 1 to 10 in Call of Duty, what would you say 3200 DPI would be? 10 being obviously the most sensitive, 1 being...
Okay,
2.
so that's going to be, yeah, I mean, 32 DPI. Basically, that means, like, it's per inch. It's just the measurement of how many pixels per inch when you move the mouse.
Right, no, I'm saying, but, you know, for those in the audience who don't know enough about DPI, like, what would you say 3200 DPI is akin to if you're...
Oh, so if you turn up your sensitivity all the way up to, like, 10 on your actual controller,
right.
like, when you're swinging around, so, like, if you just gently tap the pad, or I mean what I'm trying to say, the stick just to the left, you just complete do a 360.
Okay, so
I mean that's how sensitive that is.
Like
it was
a lemon.
really, yeah, you'll go in circles like crazy. So highest sensitivity. I mean, it was really weird messing around with that on here. And these cutscenes, I was just like, why not just name it like DLC player the game? I mean,
it's exactly what it made me think of. Like, it's a cool effect, but it's like. It's more disorienting. Like, it makes it hard to focus on things. And I understand that it's supposed to, like, 1, make you think digital. Obviously, this game is all about the digital things. And 2, like, that effect was really cool.
That actually was neat. But I was beginning to get a little confused because on your PC, now, obviously, they make games to work on the consoles. And it doesn't always work that way. But, I mean, they optimize it for that. On a PC, you can actually load it up to run heavier than you can actually handle.
Right.
So I was actually having trouble deciding whether that was an effect.
Have you ever set up the loading screen for a while? Because it does the same thing. Like, the effects on the loading screen.
Yes, I have seen that, like, the start screen.
When I was sitting at the start screen, I was like, is my game effed up? No, it has to be looking like this.
Yeah, it was just still kind of odd.
So one thing you'll notice is that there'll be some small breaks in between the videos. It's because we're watching 2 or 3 gameplay videos. Basically, we decided the first time at least, instead of having Connor or myself play it and us talk about it while we were playing it, we thought it would be easier to talk about it after recording gameplay earlier.
Yes. So
there'll be some dirty jump cuts here between videos. You'll notice that obviously that previous video ended at the end of the second mission.
So here we are starting up, and you saw there was a little bit of lag right there. Now, just granted, I was just loading it up.
Yeah,
but
not too bad. I mean, nothing too terrible.
I mean, here it still looks really smooth, but later on, it kind of goes down in quality a little bit, which I was a little upset about.
So, Watch Dogs, big game, Ubisoft's biggest game, their fastest selling game of all time.
Really?
Do you think it's? Give me out of 10? I do my best not to rate video games. But what do you think it is out of 10?
I'm gonna say it's kind of hard. I'm probably gonna say a 7.5. Honestly,
that's what I would give it. Honestly, a 7.5. And the thing about it is, to me, there's no such thing as a 10.
No.
There's no such thing as a 0.
Rarely, yes. No,
I mean, there is no such thing as a...
I wouldn't go any lower than 4 unless you really did a terrible job.
Yeah, unless the game just is almost literally not playable. And there are a few games I've played like that. Would you say Watch Dogs is a bit of a letdown, though?
Well, okay, you said this before, too. Comparing this to the E3 trailer we saw in 2012.
Yeah, I think it was 2012.
This was the disappointment as far as graphics go. Now, I was expecting a little bit more. I have not gotten too far in the game, but perhaps I was expecting more than I'm actually getting right now. I think it is fun. I don't think you'll be let down to the point of, wow, there is a wealth of things to do in the game and to enjoy doing. The game's enjoyable, but I don't think it meets up to the potential of the hype that, oh, this is so amazing. Now, granted, I have not been in the big city yet. I mean, downtown Chicago. It could pick up from there. But so far, it's not been a highly impressive game. I actually let this sit for a couple of days before I actually came back to play it again. It wasn't this grabbed me right up front. This is so amazing.
I think I agree with that completely. I think that in terms of gameplay, it's very, 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 very good. But graphically, is a bit of a letdown. Now, I mean, personally, I believe that when it comes to that thing that we saw at 2012, I think what we saw there was a game that may not have had all of the wealth of things that this version of the game had, because one of the things Ubisoft said when they delayed the game was that they were trying to keep the game from getting too repetitive. True. Maybe the game didn't have nearly that much at the time, which allowed it to look graphically more impressive. And when you keep adding things into the game, you can't keep it looking so impressive, or else it will bog the game down. So I think that's part of it. Oh man, one of the nicest things you can get in this game is that, so that you just auto unlock cars.
Oh yeah, because I was wondering, why am I not hacking into this car and just actually?
It's something you have to unlock, but it's totally worth it.
And I was like, why did I even steal that car? I didn't need to. It's just down the block.
Yeah, but
then the next mission I decided to run, and then I realized it was 20 blocks from me. I'm like, oh.
Even if it's only 3 blocks, running is such a slag.
Yeah.
So obviously the first comparison everybody makes, and it certainly is not an unfair comparison, Grand Theft Auto 5 especially. What's your thoughts on that? Did you play any Grand Theft Auto 5?
I did play Grand Theft Auto 5. And I can say that this does feel in many ways similar to in the layout to Grand Theft Auto. It is not a true Grand Theft Auto game. And I think, I mean, obviously you're interacting with your environment more than Grand Theft Auto. I feel in a way. Grand Theft Auto was more mission-based. I mean, there's a lot to do. There's a wealth of things to do in there. But this one, it's from blowing up transformers to activating, you know, turning off the lights in it and actually interacting with each individual person. Like right here, I can hack somebody. There's someone over there I could hack. I mean, you can look. It gives you a lot more detail into the actual lives and people and what's going on in the game.
Right. And I mean, I agree with that. Oh, time to intervene. And
the cover system here, I've been having trouble figuring this out. Like, I'm trying to get up and run. It moves me to the wall. I'm like, no. I want to get, no. I want to get up and run. One of the things
about the cover system that I found is, okay, at least on the console, I can't speak too much for the controller setup, but like on the console, what I do is I found that if you press away from the corner you're standing at and press the O button, so for your 360 guys, the B button, it tends to take you out of cover. This is actually one of the things that annoys me about the game. If you're running in a straight line, the guy will outrun you forever. They are just slightly faster than you. Now, what you have to do is you have to constantly take corners, because they take corners really, really widely, and because of the fact that, you know, they're a computer. So, see, you can cut that corner humongously sharp compared to him. And then they constantly turn around. So if it wasn't for that, you'd never, once they were down, you'd never catch them. Oh, asp to your face. You know, what's funny is, like, you hit him in the neck with that asp. He would not be getting up from that ever.
Nope.
So anyway, we were talking about the PC version, and just that, you know, if you go on Steam and you look up reviews, you'll pretty much see the problem that people have been having. What was the one review you were telling me about?
My favorite review is the one where this guy said, okay, so the hardest mission in Watch Dogs was the very first one. It was the logging into the Uplay client.
Yeah, and they've been having this problem with Uplay pretty much since Uplay's been a thing. The Assassin's Creeds all had it. Far Cry 3 had it.
When I got that on the PC, I just didn't even touch it because of the fact that it just kept freezing up that way.
Uplay has a lot of problems. It is not a perfect thing, and the fact that, you know, they force you to be running Uplay to get the game to work. Really obnoxious. You know, I understand why, because they're, you know, just so worried. But, you know, it's like one guy on, you know, on the Steam reviews also said, you know, this is bullshit. I pay full price for this game and can't play it because Ubisoft sucks, but pirates get to play it? This is unfair. Yeah. All you're doing is making me want to pirate your game, and that's the problem. And it's also really unusual because, you know, this looks way better than my console version. I'm not even going to lie about that. Not, you know, I mean, well, you know, it looks better, a lot better. But, you know, the fact that you have to deal with all these Uplay problems, and it prevents you from playing the game at all, whereas my console version had, you know, some issues, but nothing I would call game-breaking.
No, yeah.
But, you know, we were talking about it being, you know, somewhat of a disappointment. Graphically, you know, I think it looks really good, but do you think it looks a lot better than Grand Theft Auto 5, honestly? Like, do you think...
No, not really.
I mean, I think, like Grand Theft Auto 5, it sacrifices a certain level of quote-unquote realism for how many people it can fit on the screen, how many cars can be on the screen, and things like that.
There's some really pretty parts in this game. Like, later on, we'll in this particular session, we might get to this part where we get to, like, there's, I don't know, it's kind of a private housing area. And the trees and the lighting coming through it, it looks really brilliant. But what I'll have to say about the game, and my thing is, it is detailed but not detailed. And what I mean is, Ubisoft, like Assassin's Creed, when you look at it, it's a very living and thriving environment. It's detailed as far as how populated with things that they put on to make it feel like it's a lived-in world, to make it feel like there is a lot there. It's not just a bare, oh, there's a streetlight, oh, there's a building, oh, there's a car. There's a lot there. But the amount of detail they actually put into all of the props that are there is not very high.
I can appreciate that. And you know, one of the things that bugs me in any game like this is, so there are doors you can walk into and doors you can't walk into.
Yes, and
but the difference between them, there's none. Like, this door I could walk into. This door over here looks the exact same, but I can't go through it. In fact, and what I love is, at least on the console version, when you try and walk into a door that isn't there, you don't even walk into the door. You run into this, like, invisible space between you and the door that separates you and the door. So it's, you know, it's a really good game, I think. Let me not sit here and slag on it, but I think it's a little bit disappointing. I much prefer like the Assassin's Creeds as far as open world than I did this. And you know, Black Flag was a great game, but you know, this I like it. I'll play it. I'm still enjoying myself with it. I'm still playing it, and I've been playing it, and I'm going to continue playing it. But once I beat it, do I think that I'll play it again?
I really don't think I'll be coming back to this. I mean, some of the open world games really do encourage you to come back, and the things that go on in this, though, are actually very interesting to watch. I mean, just right here, the interaction between these two, there's a lot going on. That's really cool. I mean, the fact that that's the only real exploration aspect to it, being able to watch the people around you interact. And I don't think I'll be able to come back to that really later on. Like some open world games, say Grand Theft Auto, there's a wealth of things to do afterwards. I mean, the multiplayer, the other things here. I mean, there is multiplayer in Watch Dogs too, but even, let's say, Saints Row. There's tons of things to unlock, tons of fun to be had. But once everything's said and done with Watch Dogs, I don't exactly know what I'm going to do afterwards.
One of the things I don't like about it is the somewhat forced multiplayer. If I want to go hacking somebody, I should be able to set up like a one-on-one hacking match. I should not constantly get pop-ups in my single-player game about...
Really? So that happens for you quite a bit?
Pretty frequently. I would say at least 4 or 5 times in a play session.
It has not happened for me yet. Granted, I'm not very far in the game. And
you may not be far enough yet.
Yes, it doesn't make that happen right away. You have to actually get your bearings before
you have to, which is nice. But if you just haul ass through the game and don't do a lot of side stuff first, then you might not be quite prepared for what's going to happen. So I don't like any game that forces multiplayer on me. I don't care for it. I don't like it. You can't make me like it. And I like multiplayer, by the way.
I do, yes. So some things I just feel like I'm trying to actually accomplish this on my own, and I don't want to be constantly interrupted by someone invading my game. I mean, I don't know about the Dark Souls. That never really was a big thing for me, but like Left 4 Dead, some of those... Dead Island. That one particularly, I wanted to explore by myself, and I hated people coming in and taking my stuff.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, and like this one, it's like the Assassin's Creed. I am a lone wolf vigilante fighting against an entire city. I should not have to also be forced to deal with the bullshit of other people coming into my game and being a dick. It happens. Trust me, it has already. I think it's a perfectly acceptable game. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think that there's some level of... There's almost a lack of love in certain pieces of it.
True.
It would be stupid to say they rushed it because it was delayed 6 months.
Yes.
But I think, I don't know, there's almost something missing from it. That certain something that some video games have and some video games don't.
It just, I mean, to an extent, I don't want to say it feels bland, but it just kind of feels gray over it.
One of the things that I was talking about when I first saw one of the trailers for it is, what do you see? You see people shooting guns. This was one of the first trailers I saw. Yeah. So you saw people shooting guns, you saw cars crashes, and people getting punched and beat up, but it didn't tell you much of anything about hacking. And what do you get? You get freaking Christian Bale Batman going, "My enemies may run the city, but I control it." And it's just like, it's this movement towards this giant generic blob that will be video games. So here's, in my brain, it's almost like food. It's like, this game to me is the famous bowl from KFC of food.
Yeah.
Instead of letting me go, oh, I want some fried chicken, and I want some corn on the cob. No, you're just going to give me a bowl that has a little bit of everything. Yeah. And none of it is perfect because it's all sloshed together. That's the thing.
You told me about that, and then I just drive right by the guy, and I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, did that just happen? I didn't even have a chance to realize that he was the guy.
Completely off topic there, but yes, that happens a lot. Like, oh, I'm coming up on a crime. Why is he standing right there? And he sees you, and that's it. And then that's another obnoxious thing in this game. I feel like when an enemy sees you, that's it. You don't get and I understand that's quote unquote more realistic. You're talking to me about realism in a game where I can run into a car at 120 miles an hour with my motorcycle and be like, yeah, I'm a little dusty, but I'm all right. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about, though. What were we talking about? Was I babbling?
Batman, Christian Bale.
Oh, yeah, the giant mush of a video game. So I feel like instead of giving me, a nice, straightforward game that does 2 or 3 things really, 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 really well, you're trying to give me a game that does 1,000 things really, really well. And the only game that does that is Grand Theft Auto 5. The golf was great, the tennis was great, the driving's good, the flying's fun, the combat's good. but this, I don't know. It all feels so loveless.
And if you're going to make a yearly blockbuster out of this, I mean, if that's going to happen,
something else needs to be done.
Yeah. I mean, if they could have, this looked like a really cool game based on the fact that I would constantly be hacking stuff. I'd be running from the police. I'd be doing all this stuff. Sincerely, a fan fiction writer. I mean, none of this actually ever happens. That was one of the Steam reviews, by the way. I give credit to that guy. But I mean, if you could have focused, like you said, on those 3 points and made this a game about hacking, about running, about that kind of stuff, I mean, it would have been really cool. But trying to be Grand Theft Auto, trying to be that on a yearly basis, Grand Theft Auto 5, between the delay between 4 and 5, massive. But why? Because they perfected every element of that.
5 is one of those games where I wonder what's next. How are they going to step up besides graphically and audio and in audio? Because for me, Grand Theft Auto 5 was as perfect of a sandbox game as you can possibly make with the magnitude that the game is. Yes, there's a lot of blank spots. Sweet job, oh man, you pushed over a kid's toy.
Well, it
what
makes the
jerk.
squeaky
I'm
noise.
a hacker and I knock over kids'
toys. Yeah.
Man, what a jerk. You know, Grand Theft Auto 5 was a great game, and not that this is not a good game in its own right. But, you know, you keep saying if they're going to turn it into a yearly blockbuster. Ubisoft has already said, Ubisoft, however you pronounce it, has already said they want to release these games as a yearly franchise, and they want to release their franchise games more often. Now, I want you to let that sink in for a second. We're talking about Assassin's... Yeah, soak it up for a second. We're talking about Assassin's Creed, a game that already gets released yearly. You want to release it more frequently. What? You're going to kill that business. And I love the Assassin's Creed. Please don't do that. 3 was terrible.
I'm not a very good driver.
You know, as long as you don't do this in real life, we're gold.
No, you should see my car.
Yeah, you know, you should see my car. I managed to hit his basketball hoop the other night. You know,
no worries.
He says with a certain smattering of grimace.
No worries.
You know, it's a shame that they felt the need to do this in their games. And it's a shame that they felt the need to turn their games into a little bit of lag there.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I'm running, it recommended a mix between ultra and high settings, and if I can run ultra, I will. I mean, I'm that guy. It's like, I have to do it, and I'm recording at 1080p too, so there's an occasional thing like that. So, but, oh my gosh.
Well, that was close.
Right through the pin. Yeah, thread the needle.
This will be even better when we're actually playing it. It's you know, it's. But I think that instead of trying to do hacking right, like look at Deus Ex: Human Revolution. Did you ever play that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great hacking game.
It was
solid, fun, good action, good combat, great stealth. You know, just a really, really fun game. And I was thinking, looking at it, that this would be something between Deus Ex and Assassin's Creed. Or maybe something even more original than the two of those together, which would have been awesome. I'm all about new IPs. But, you know, if they do want to turn this into a yearly franchise, which obviously they do, because if this is the fastest-selling Ubisoft game of all time, you had better believe that they're already going, how soon can we put out, you know, Watch Dogs 2?
And I had a quick...
Son of the Watch Dogs.
Yes, Son of the Watch Dogs.
Revenge of Watch Dogs. You know, how soon can we pump one out? Because this thing printed money for us, which is great, and hopefully that means next year's can be better and not delayed so badly.
True.
Do you think this suffered from either being on the next gen or previous gen? Because the way I had heard it was that when they delayed it back in November, the 360 and PS3 versions were done.
This was originally supposed to be a launch title, so most likely
for the current gens, by the way.
Yes,
launch
current
title
gens.
For the
Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Yep.
It was supposed to come out with the consoles back in last November.
November.
But it probably is then an issue, the fact that they were not able to... It was not ready to release on the new consoles, that they had to push it back. There's probably quite a few things that they had to tweak, so... Because you can't just put out a game that's different, it just works on these particular systems, and you had to completely change it for another system. You have to make it optimized for all systems.
Well, and I often wonder too, like, you know, I like to believe they're telling me the truth all the time. Now, they said that one of the reasons they delayed it was because, and I love the GPS system, by the way. It's a very handy GPS system. Cough, cough, Saints Row. You know, I think, you know, because they've said, one, they delayed it, and like I said, I'd heard that that it was on the previous gens, it was done. But two, I'd also heard they delayed it because they said that they basically the Assassin's Creed 1 problem that here's this beautiful open world and you're doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that could have easily been true. You know, it wouldn't shock me at all if that was factual. So I wonder if it was a weird combination of the two, that the current gens weren't ready, and upon doing it, they said, wow, this really isn't this really isn't what we were wanting it to be. A little bit of lag going on here again. So
Get into the big city.
Yeah, you are getting more downtown, so more lag would be expected. Yeah, I am seeing a little bit of stuttering in the car.
Yeah, it's probably I probably should just run it on high or something, but again, I can't do that. If I can run it on ultra, it's like, nope, I will do it.
Fuck the video, it's all about the high.
Yep.
Or the ultra, rather. So, Watch Dogs. Overall, we both gave it like a 7.5. I think it's really worth buying, honestly, because there is just an absolute,
buttload.
Humongous, metric buttload even, of things to do in the game, which is great. If nothing else, it will keep your attention for a long time. Which, what more can you ask? With 1 second to spend,
And
you
I
failed.
don't even know how.
Bullshit.
I'm like, what?
What a bunch of bullshit.
What?
Yeah, so we're gonna be probably doing some Let's Play videos. Probably Connor and I, either Connor playing it and me,
And I was just done with this. I'm like,
doing
no.
over-the-shoulder plays, or vice versa. I like to call it backseat gamer. Might become a new thing we do. So yeah, Watch Dogs now out for the PS3, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox 360, and as Connor plays it on the PC. We are out. Have a good night, guys.
See you later, man.